In the Revic BLR10b range-finding binocular with ballistics, we have a very, very simple methodology for getting very sophisticated ballistic solutions. We've set up a process for hunting. We're all about hunting at Revic. So we've set up a process where most of your hunting shots and opportunities that are, 5, 6, maybe under 700 yards, usually are happening fast, where you need to get set up, you need to get a solution as quickly as possible. One button is perfect. So you set up, you take a range, it gives you your elevation and your windage solution with one button press. Now you can execute on the gun, and if you got a shooter spotter, it's even faster. So we call that a base wind solution. And basically what we're saying is that if you have a nominal wind, which is a 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, full value type wind situation, you've programmed that as part of your profile. Most of the time we're picking something like 5 or 10 miles per hour, but some guys determine a wind number. You can use your wind number that kind of says a little bit more about your system. But so you take this base wind value, and what we're going to do is turn off some of the more advanced ballistic corrections like headwind, tailwind correction, aerodynamic jump, spin drift, all of these corrections that need to know what direction the wind is coming from. We turn those off so that when you push the button, it will give you a elevation correction with EOFTOS effect built in, and then it will give you that base wind windage correction. Now, you need to know, is it a left to right wind or right to left, and you need to hold accordingly. And then you also need to be able to scale. What if your base wind's a 5, but the actual wind situation is 10? Well, you just double it. But what it gives you is a really fast way to get a solution that doesn't require a lot of menu navigations to access. When you push the button on the rangefinder, it will give you the range, it will give you your BDC range, it will give you your elevation correction, and then it will give you a windage correction that is based on a full value crosswind, either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock crosswind, at that base wind value. And as a shooter, all you do is you say, hey, it says it's a 5 mile an hour base wind, and that's a 2-minute hold, but I actually have a 10 mile an hour wind, so I'm gonna double that to 4-minute hold. So it's a really quick way to scale up and get on target when you're hunting and you need a solution fast, say sub 6, maybe out to 700 yards. You start pushing to that 1,000-yard number and beyond, you really have to dial in a full vector solution. That's where you have to put in the direction the wind's coming from and the speed the wind is traveling. And when you do that, it allows us automatically in the device to enable all the complex solution mechanisms that use that wind vector, like aerodynamic jump or headwind, tailwind corrections, and adding spin drift and Coriolis as well. Essentially, the way we like to think of that is base wind is for under 1/2 mile, vector wind is for over 1/2 mile. And in the vector wind, you're going to use your arrows and your buttons and your menu and fire button to enter the wind direction and then the wind speed. Then when you take a range, your ballistic solution will have all of that stuff enabled. So it's a very straightforward method to get a fully complete and advanced ballistic solution, but it does take a little bit of extra time. So generally that over 1/2 mile shot, you have a little bit more time to prepare. You need to take a little bit more time to read your wind. And those are the two main wind solutions. We can review the BDC solution as well. So in the display, we talked about a little indicator that shows BDC. Now that BDC indicates a shoot to range calculation. So if I've loaded a profile on the device that has a ballistic turret enabled, then when I push the range button, I'm gonna get a range, let's say 800 yards. And then it's gonna switch to the BDC solution, the shoot to solution, which might be 776. And it's doing that because of the differences in air temperature, in pressure, in inclination, all those advanced things that we're solving for. Even aerodynamic jump, it would correct for that. So that's the range that you would dial to if you're using a BDC turret. So now it doesn't matter whether you're dialed MOA or BDC, it's a perfect solution. So the BDC is pretty straightforward, and then it'll just flash back and forth between the range and the BDC range. Now, while it's doing that in the upper segment, you still will see your wind hold and your elevation come-ups in mil or MOA, whichever your unit choice is. So there's the three things: your base wind mode, vector wind mode, and now we just covered the BDC or shoot to range. That concludes the quick start videos for the Revic BLR10b range finding binocular with ballistics. And We covered all the topics from programming, from menus and navigation, to ranging and targeting modes, and finally we settled on some advanced topics for ranging with ballistics. If you missed any of those previous topics, make sure you go back and review those videos. As we continue our education, teaching people how to use Revic products to get exceptional ballistic solutions and make that perfect shot, watch for a continuing video series where we'll demonstrate in the field how to use the Revic binocular to get the solution when the shot is on the line and the conditions are tough.